Hello, my name is Jasmine Woodard with NACE, and I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, Careers in Patents for Engineers and Scientists. We encourage you to actively participate in the chat and please post questions in the Q&A. It is my pleasure to introduce Mark Dighton, Administrative Director, Patent Office Exam Course, Practicing Law Institute. Take it away, Mark.
Great. Welcome, everybody. Very excited here to talk to you about something I think a lot of you may not know a lot about, which is an alternative careers for engineering and science majors in the patent world. I'm here because I run a course that teaches people how to pass the exam that is the gateway to those careers. The patent office has something called the registration exam that engineers and scientists have to take before they can, represent clients almost as though they were attorneys to help them get patents in the first place. We're going to talk about that exam way down the road at this point. First things to really talk about are kind of the history of the organization and who can take the exam and a little bit about how it works and all that kind of stuff. So here's the basics. My email is down at the bottom, mdighton, MDIGHTON @pli.edu. And I welcome all your questions down the road about this. PLI is a nonprofit organization founded about 80 years ago. So you can go to www.pli.edu, and then you want to look for the Patent Office Exam course. A lot of times people call this, the patent bar exam and stuff like that. But the patent office has never called this the patent bar exam. It's the registration exam. And we found that calling it the bar exam made people feel like they had to go to law school to have careers in this field. And that's just not true. That's always been the case. We've always had engineers and scientists who can take the exam given by the patent office, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, USPTO, but we generally just call them the patent office in this context. And become, if they pass this exam, they can call themselves patent agents. They can represent clients in front of the patent office to help them get patents. That's always been the case. But 10 years ago, almost exactly, just a little over 10 years ago, there was a major change in how U.S. patent law worked, and that made engineers and scientists much more marketable in the field. And so now the law firms are now looking for more engineers and scientists to become patent agents to help them in this process because of those changes to the field. So if you're going to Google us, you can certainly Google Patent Office Exam Course. You can probably Google Patent Bar Review. We're probably going to be the first thing that shows up because we are kind of the only course really left in the business, at least reputable course left in the business. When I started doing this 25 years ago, there were three major courses. The other two are basically gone. So just to introduce myself a little bit, I am a lawyer, but don't hold that against me. I did not like being a lawyer and pretty much fled to academia as soon as I could. I've been running this course for PLI, this prep course for this exam given by the Patent Office, for now more than 25 years, a quarter of a decade. I mean, a quarter of a century. Many decades. PLI is a nonprofit organization, as I said, founded 80 plus years ago. We do primarily continuing legal education. Most lawyers are required to do a certain number of hours of continuing legal education every year to keep their license active, and PLI is probably the best known provider of that, especially when you're talking about the big sort of national, federal level sort of topics, including patents. We started, at least as far as we know, the first prep course for this exam back in the 1960s, and we are still by far the sort of predominant course. So basically the premise of this, the big picture, is that people with technical degrees, basically anybody with any engineering degree, a hard science degree, we would consider chemistry, physics, biology related degrees. Most computer science majors can take the exam, especially if they have a bachelor's of science. In computer science, they will automatically qualify to take the exam. If they've got a Bachelor of Arts in computer science, then they have to jump a couple more hurdles. But I can help people with that if that's what it come to. So that major change in US patent law has really opened up a lot of opportunities. It's not for everybody. Here's the hard facts about who can take the exam, who has any options in this field, and marketable in this field at all. But let's talk also about I went through this already. Anyone with an engineering degree, most computer science degrees, and any hard science degrees, chemistry, physics, biology related discipline. Um, uh, Let me go on. Oh, so really what I want to talk about is the qualities that you should look for in candidates to kind of steer them toward this. It's not for everybody. There's not a ton of jobs. There's just a lot more jobs than there used to be. And the firms are looking for these people all the time at this point. But the question is really kind of one of, is this right for somebody? I will tell you, one of the things I will offer later is that, I travel the country talking at the law schools to the eligible students at the law school, those who have undergraduate degrees in engineering and hard science, computer sciences, before they went to law school, about careers and the exam and all that kind of stuff. And so this 10 years ago, when the engineers became, and scientists became much more marketable in the field, the firms kind of said to me, well, we know how to find the law students who are eligible for this, who we're going to hire to become patent attorneys. There's a very regularized process, a big job fair that's basically the national clearinghouse for the law students. But how do we find the engineers and scientists? And I was like, well, I don't know. But at the very least, I'm going out and talking at all these law schools to the law students who are eligible to go into this field. I'll come talk to the engineers too. Um, uh, when I come and speak at schools, especially if you've got a law school, I'm probably coming to your neighborhood every other year. So anyway, you write me and tell me that you'd like to have me come speak to your students, and we can probably make that happen in the next year or two. But when I come to the schools, I know this is not for everybody. We kind of spell it out a little bit. And then when I'm talking to students, I'll start talking about some of this stuff, and people will kind of recoil in horror. And this doesn't sound good to me. I'm like, well, fine. I'm not trying to talk anybody into anything that isn't right for them. I'm looking for kind of the needles in the haystack who are like, that's what I need. And really, I tell you honestly, when I come and talk in engineering schools, most engineering schools, we often invite the scientists too. I really arrange it primarily through the engineering school because that's sometimes a little bit more organized. We'll get 20, 30 people in a room tops, and that's fine by me. Honestly, I get probably 10 to 20 more often. And the point is that by the end of it, if I've got a couple people who are like, yes, that sounds good to me, then I consider it a success for everybody. So the things I start talking about that make some people a little bit wary, the first one that's really important is good communication skills, especially in writing. Patents law, being a patent agent, is all about writing. Now, you're not asking people to write poetry or even prose. It's all technical language, but they have to have a real comfortable level with the English language to kind of understand the nuances in certain words, because you're writing claims. And if the examiner says, oh, no, that's too broad, that starts to overlap on something else that's already been patented, well, then you've got to rewrite that little word to be just slightly narrower so that it doesn't overlap on something that's already been patented, but still kind of captures the gist of what, your clients, the inventors, have, discovered. So it's really kind of a love of playing with words. I'm looking for people who kind of read for fun, read fiction or nonfiction for fun, which we don't find with a lot of engineers and scientists. People who love Wordle. Wordle's the hallmark at this point of somebody who's probably going to like this, who likes playing with words and thinking about words. And then secondarily, that you have to have kind of a sincere enthusiasm for the accomplishments of others. This is not for the people who want to be bench scientists their whole lives, who want to write code their entire life. This is for those other people who are like, oh, I'm not really sure I want to be a bench scientist my whole life. I'm not really sure I want to write grant proposals. I'm not sure I want to spend the rest of my life coding. This is perfect for them because they can kind of sit back and watch what other people have accomplished, and get it. Yeah, I get it. This is, new and different. This is something worthy of a patent. It's the kind of thing where, as someone's describing it, they should hopefully know the technology to go, that works. If that works, and it's a surprise to everybody, that's the perfect candidate for a patent. So you got to have those people who be like, yeah, I get it. That's cool. You probably spent years, maybe decades working on this, but you figured it out when no one else could figure it out. Good for you. I'm going to go help you get a patent on this, and I guess probably make some money out of it. Some people just doing it for the good of humanity. Mostly people are looking to get some money out of this. So let's talk about some terminology here. If you're talking to students who are looking for these jobs, first of all, there are two job titles in this space that have legal definitions. One of them is a patent attorney, and that means it's somebody who's been to law school, graduated from law school, taken a state bar, and so is an attorney, and in addition to that, has passed the patent office exam, so they can call themselves a patent attorney. We really, in this context, prefer to say registered patent attorney. That means they passed the exam and they have a registration number with the US Patent Office. We tend to call them registered patent attorneys to differentiate them from all the people who call themselves patent attorneys but aren't registered patent attorneys. Um, Nothing we probably need to get into here. The second one is a patent agent. Patent agent just means somebody who has a degree in engineering or the hard sciences, took and passed the patent office's registration exam. And if you pass it, you can then call yourself a patent agent and represent clients in front of, the patent office. Below that, there's all different kinds of job titles that the law firms may use to hire engineers and scientists who have not yet passed the patent office exam and so cannot legally call themselves patent agents. Those used to be called scientific advisors, technical specialists. Lately, they've started calling those folks patent engineers and patent scientists, which the patent agents hate because it makes it sound like they've accomplished that passing this very difficult exam when these patent engineers and scientists haven't. But I would basically talk to engineers and scientists who are thinking of getting in this field, looking for jobs. They should feel fine applying for any job, except if they are only asking for a patent attorney. At that point, they want someone who's at least enrolled in law school, is on their way to being a patent attorney, because there's certain things patent attorneys can do that patent agents can't do, and the law firm clearly has that work they need done. So I tell students, if the advertisement is only for a patent attorney, it is probably not worth sending in your resume. If it's asking for patent agents, then even if you haven't taken the exam, you might as well go ahead and apply. A lot of times the firms are going to look at your resume and say, look at what this person has accomplished. Yes, we know the exam is difficult, but this is obviously the smart kind of person who is going to pass the exam. So we'll go ahead and hire them and we will make them a patent agent. So alluded to this a little bit before, but let's talk about it in detail now. The path to these jobs is to take and pass the patent office's registration exam. Now, again, this may be called by some people the patent bar exam. We don't call it that, in part because that's not what it's officially called, and in part because it discourages engineers and scientists from thinking they can do this. It is a multiple choice exam, but is a very difficult exam. Historically, the pass rate on this exam has been just barely above 50% for a very long time. For the last decade, has been below 50%. Hit a low point of a 42 point something 10 years ago, and has kind of struggled to get back up to 50% from there. We're now at 47 point something. And every year we think, oh, we're going to crack 50% again next year. And then that seemingly never quite happens. Now that's the official pass rate. For the people taking my course, it's almost double that. It's 86, 87% year to year, does not seem to change dramatically. PLI is the premier course to prepare people for this exam. Like I said, 25 years ago, there was a couple others. We're kind of really the only one left in the business. Students get $1,000 discount off of the course price. Um, but we tell these students that you really have to plan on being serious about this, even if for some reason they know something about patents. Maybe they've been working the tech transfer office at the university for a while and have had some experience with patents there. Even if they feel like they're really good with multiple choice exams, we tell them they have to plan on spending about 150 to 200 hours total preparing for this exam over ideally a month to 2 months, meaning it's a full-time job for a month if they've ever got that month with nothing much else going on. Knowing that even most students don't have that available to them, most of them treat it like a part-time job, shoot for 20, 25 hours per week over 2 months should put them in good standing to pass the first time. They need to be kind of apprised of the fact that it is not a test of the law, really. So they don't need to worry about that they've never been to law school or never took any courses in law. It's not even really about the technology. It's not questions about engineering or the sciences. When you sit down and take the exam doesn't know whether you've got a bachelor's in biology or a PhD in electrical engineering because it doesn't need to know. The exam is never about science or technology. It's about patent office procedures. The patent office is a big federal bureaucracy full of its own idiosyncratic procedures and rules and forms and deadlines. And this is really a test to kind of figure out, can you figure out how to deal with the patent office and the way they expect you to deal with them when you're handling your clients' cases? So it's really a test of these kind of picky little procedures and mechanisms, rules and forms and deadlines. Do you know when they're appropriate? Do you know which is the process that will be cheapest if your client wants it to be as cheap as possible? Do you know which is the fastest? If your client says, I want this done ASAP, that's usually more expensive. So depending on kind of how the question is worded, you got to know, okay, this is the cheap way and that's the fast way. And near the two usually meet. So usually engineers and scientists are very nervous about this. But what I always tell them is that the law students and even the lawyers have no real advantage. At this point, I have 1,400 people a year taking our course. Now, more than half of them are engineers and scientists who, at least as far as I know, have never been to law school, maybe never want to go to law school, and they pass at every bit as high a rate as the law students and lawyers. This is not a test of what students are going to learn in law school. There's a lot of criticism about law school that sometimes law students graduate without knowing how to do anything. Um, um, there's a movement afoot to sort of change that, but to some degree, that is just kind of built into the system of law school. Law school isn't a trade school. It is not about just how do you fill out forms. It's about bigger picture stuff. It's about how to read like a lawyer, think like a lawyer, write like a lawyer, speak like a lawyer, big picture stuff like theories, policy, Supreme Court cases, none of which are on this exam. So the law students and lawyers are learning this stuff from scratch for the most part, just like the engineers and scientists are. And it's an analytical process. It's flow charts. It's like, well, if you want this, you got to go that way. And if that doesn't work, you go through another mechanism. It's an analytical process that they figure out. And like I said, they pass every bit as high rate as the law students and lawyers, that 86 or 87% I was talking about. So that's kind of the highlights. I'm bringing you back here. I'm going to go into the chat if I can. This is the part that I'm not real sure about. And going to paste in some links for you all if you want to follow up. Obviously, you can ask any questions you want in the chat here. We'll be getting to that in a minute. But first, I will go to the chat and paste some stuff for you to copy in. Let's see, where am I? Let's get rid of that for a second. Sorry, I don't usually do PowerPoints, and so this is the part that's got me a little bit thrown. But hopefully you can be posting your questions while I'm trying to post something in the chat. There we go. Okay. Oh, not to host and panelists. This should go to everyone. So there is a link to our homepage for the Patent Office exam course. This course I'm talking about that I run. Let me also send you a link to, we have a special kind of engineers and scientists page that talks in further detail about kind of the issues for engineers and scientists, what the jobs are like, how to find them, um, uh, and a little bit kind of about, um, you know, going on to law school if people think that that's what they want to do. When I talk to engineers and scientists about this, I try to make very, very clear that you do not have to go to law school to be a success in this field, to be happy, to be successful, well paid. I know lots of people who've been agents their entire lives and are very happy with that. Um, Honestly, if a lot of them go on to be patent agents, half of them are going to go to law school, even if they thought that wasn't what they wanted to do, because they're going to get to the law firm and realize, oh, the attorneys are handling the more interesting aspects of the cases, the harder cases, the more challenging and interesting cases. And so they're going to be like, well, yeah, okay, now it's worth going to law school. So that's, you know, fine. I could be a great resource for those people who are thinking of going on to law school. One of the things I will say that's kind of a bottom line on this is if you've got an engineer or scientist who was thinking of going to law school, um, uh, then tell them that if all else, the only takeaway from this is the only thing uh, uh, you remember from this is to tell them that they should take the exam before they start law school. Because if they do that, um, uh, basically they've got a very marketable skill, by that summer after their first year of law school. So if they take the exam before they start law school, and again, law school is not going to teach them anything that's going to help with this exam. Obviously they may have lots of patent courses they can take, and they should take all of them, but none of them are going to help with this exam. They're all big picture courses, and this is about minutia and little mechanical details. Um, uh, they should do the exam before they start law school so that in that first year they're applying for summer jobs. They've got a very lucrative, marketable skill that they can sell to firms. They'll have no trouble getting a really good job that first summer. The dirty little secret, I guess, at some law schools is that, a lot of the first year students that first summer between first and second year, you know, they don't have a lot of marketable skills. They're often given kind of make work projects to do and stuff like that. Um, this is not the case for my people. My people have a marketable skill. They will be highly sought after by the firms that do patents. And it basically puts them on a career trajectory that even very few law students can really compete with. So if some of this sounds interesting and you'd like to hear more about it, or if you'd like to share this with students, I did a playlist of YouTube videos right when COVID started. And the reason I did it was because some of the engineering schools I've been speaking at, said, well, we can't have you come for COVID. Actually, it was University of Texas, Austin. Said, you come every year and talk to our students. That can't happen. Why don't you put some YouTube videos up? They asked for one video. And I said, well, I broke up into little bits and pieces so that people can kind of figure out where they're coming into the discussion and just, get the answers to the questions that they have. And the last one is about going on to law school, but, I make clear is completely optional and all that kind of stuff. So I made that playlist. I thought it turned out pretty good, despite the fact that I was recovering from dental surgery as I was doing those videos. I'm a little bit mushy mouth, but all in all, I thought I really kind of encapsulated it pretty well. So we put those up on YouTube for the whole world. And I would really welcome you taking a look at that, sharing that with your students. I really kind of talk about kind of all the aspects of this. And again, I would say that if you watch this, I use this also as kind of, this is a good example of what I will do if you have me come speak to your engineers at your school. Basically, what I do when I get up in front of a group of engineers, scientists, is I kind of try to get a reading for the room, like where are people coming into this? What are they looking to get out of it? Are they looking to go into law school, or they don't want to go to law school? It is funny. Usually as I'm finish the talk, I do those talks basically I do here and just kind of introduce the general topics, and then I just go wherever the group wants, which is what we're going to be doing in a minute. Try to answer all their questions, like I'm going to try to answer all your questions. But there's invariably somebody who kind of, really gets right to the point. They're thinking of going on to law school. The funny thing is, the minute anybody else mentions law school, I hardly mention it at all in my talk. But when somebody asks a question about law school, half of the group leans in. This was what they came for the first place. Half of the group recoils in horror. No, I don't want to go to law school. I get it. Having gone to law school, I don't think it's for everybody. It's not. So I tell them, no, we're going to first talk about jobs as patent agents, how you get them, what they're like, all that kind of stuff. And then we'll take a break and I'll talk about law school afterwards. And then when we kind of exhausted all the patent agent stuff, I say, okay, everybody who isn't thinking about law school can leave. And then I stay and talk to the group about law school. So if you are at a school, especially a school that has a law school, and you would like me to come speak to your engineers and science majors, I really try to talk to, juniors and seniors, people who are really kind of pretty clear on where they're going with their career at this point, have maybe thought about law school, even if they decided no. And then for the hard sciences, especially biology and chemistry, I really asked to speak just to the grad students, because there kind of really aren't jobs for people with just a bachelor's in chemistry or biology, because there's so many of them. I guess it's a supply and demand question. And also biology and chemistry inventions tend to be very complicated, very advanced. So mostly the law firms think that people with just a bachelor's aren't going to understand what is new and different about these concepts, and why there should be a patent, and how you get a patent on that new and different concept. So I really try to talk to just kind of grad students in science and engineering. So I guess with that said, I think I'm going to get back to the presentation. There we are again. My email address is at the bottom, mdighton@pli.edu. You can go to www.pli.edu. Again, PLI is a nonprofit organization chartered by the Regents of the State of New York. So we are a .edu. And from there, you can find the Patent Office exam course, although it's really, you could probably just Google Patent Office exam course or Patent Bar Review, and we'd probably be the first thing that shows up. So now I think I'm going to open the floor to questions. I'm going to go, oops. Somebody else. There we are. Let me go see if I can find the Q&A. Somebody's asking about, will the slides be available afterwards? That we would have to talk to Jasmine about. I don't know how that works. Oh, can I talk about careers and patents? I thought that's a little bit too much for this group, but I will talk about it generally. Agents will almost always work for a law firm, sometimes corporation, but more often law firms. They will get cases handed to them that are new, supposedly patentable ideas. They will have to go do the research to make sure this is a new and different idea. So they have to know how to search the patent office database to make sure there aren't already patents that cover this thing or are similar to this thing. Those they'll have to pay attention to too, because then the next step is that they have to explain in words to the patent office what this invention or innovation is. First they'll describe generally just how the field is, the state of the art up to that point, and then they'll come the part where it's like, okay, here's the patentable part, here's what's new and different about what these people have discovered. And they're going to write that in, English language. So again, that communication skills of understanding the English language, nuances of the English language, at least as far as technical terms go, is going to be very important. They'll send that to the patent office, an examiner will examine it and usually come back and say, it's too broad because you tried to cover as much territory as you could for the client's sake. Here are the patents I think interfere with this, and then you'll have to go back and rewrite the words to make them so narrow that they don't overlap on something that's already been patented, but still as broad as possible. So it's a playing with words and the nuances of words that's important in this field, which is not something a lot of engineers and scientists are comfortable with. Again, like I said, I'm not surprised, and when I um, talk to students about this, and a fair number of the group looks at me in abject horror. Yeah, I get it. That's partially why these folks are hard to find, but that's also why there's jobs for the right people in this field if they've got kind of a love of language. Yeah, this is really only, you've got to have a bachelor's degree before you can take the exam. So community colleges only fit in the context of somebody going on to get a 4-year degree. Or sometimes what we will see is, especially for the computer science people, is they will sometimes need to go back and take a couple of like physics labs or chemistry labs just because of the weird way that the patent office rules work. So they'll often go back to community colleges for that. Oh, one other thing I should mention is I do, aside from the YouTube playlist and the offer to come speak at your school, I do have an email newsletter that goes out on a quarterly basis that says, here's what's changing with the exam given by the office. Here's what's happening with our course, that kind of thing. If anybody wants to sign up for that, if you could put your first name, last name, and your email address in the chat, and I believe I should be able to sort of copy that so that I can add you to our email newsletter list for that. So let's see if I can go find some other questions. Oh, within the engineering disciplines, which engineering majors are best fit for a patent agent career? Great question, Daniel. Basically, all of the engineering disciplines will be marketable in this field. Some less than others. Civil engineering, not so much. Industrial engineering, sometimes not so much. But you get your basics like mechanical engineering. Well, basically every invention that isn't just software has a mechanical aspect to it. So law firms love to hire mechanical people, figuring they can do all different kinds of things. Really, the ones that are hot, very much in demand right now, are electrical engineering, computer engineering, and computer sciences, especially if it's a BS degree and not a BA. Those are what the firms are really looking for, but anybody with any engineering degree has opportunities in the field. And why electrical engineering, computer science are hot now is because a lot of the action's in software. But software patents are very controversial. There are some people who are really opposed to software patents. I think Mark Cuban is famous for this. So that's very much kind of the moment. It's been true for a very long time now. And I think short of, the US Supreme Court or the federal government or the patent office deciding that software is no longer patentable, which is not out of the question, but I think highly unlikely at this point. That was a very hot topic there for a while, but seems to have subsided. But especially electrical engineering, computer engineering, and a BS in computer science, very marketable in this field. They will have firms falling all over themselves. But again, that can change. If software patents become, get prohibited, then all of a sudden no one's going to have those people. They maybe want the bio people. And the bio and chemistry people, like I said, really need to kind of have the advanced degrees. They're not as in demand as they once were, but especially if you've got a PhD in bio or chemistry, you should be fine. Physics is more kind of like mechanical engineering. Again, every invention that isn't software has some physics involved in it. So law firms like to hire physics people to kind of be the sort of jack of all trades, master of none type of people who will kind of handle all the other inventions that aren't software. Okay. Well, thanks for everybody signing up for the newsletter. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Again, especially if you're in Florida, I'm planning a trip to Florida for the last 2 weeks of January. If you're in Florida and you want me to come speak at your school, I can arrange that pretty soon. What's the typical salary for a patent agent? Great question. Again, M. Guess that's M. It's hard to say because it really depends on kind of their technical background. It uh, kind of what market they're looking to be in. Are they looking to be in a major city or they don't want to be in a major city? What we will generally say is that the typical salary for a patent agent is 10 to maybe $20,000 above uh, other kind of similarly situated, jobs looking for the same kind of thing. So it's not a huge jump in salary. I mean, the engineers are in great demand at this point. So it's not really about a salary thing. I really discourage students who think they're going to go do this just because they want to make more money. Really, if that's what you're in for, you got to go to law school because that's where the real money is, right? Okay. So this is for people who are like, again, thinking they do not want to be a bench scientist. They do not want to write grant proposals. They do not want to be coding the rest of their lives. How much is the PLI prep course? It is, buckle up here, folks. This is going to sound pricey, but all of the kind of bar review courses for people studying for the state bars after law school are expensive. It's a very thorough course taught by two of the leading patent attorneys in the country who I'm paying a lot of money for. But they're great with the students. The students love them. They're heroes. The list price of the course is $2,995. Students automatically get a discount of $1,000. So the average student price, the basic student price, is $1,995. They get access to our course online. We're probably not going to be doing live in-person courses. Obviously we quit that over COVID. People switch to the home study. The home studies become our flagship course. It is everything they need. It is lectures. It is practice questions built into software that tracks their progress and gives them feedback on what their strengths and weaknesses are. They get contacted by faculty, these two guys who are basically the sort of the deans of the patent bar, the godfathers of the patent bar, they sometimes get called, to get their questions answered. So it's an expensive course, but it's basically worth it. If students are having doubts about that, then what I do tell them to do is to go to Reddit. If they go to Reddit, nice, unbiased. I don't know if I'm spending half of my workday on Reddit now, watching people talk about my course and, jobs in the field and all that kind of stuff. People kind of all over the map, but it's a very unbiased place. Everybody will tell them that our course is kind of a non-negotiable at this point. We're the only reputable course left standing at this point, really. The other two courses that were the good courses folded over the years. And now all that's left is a couple of fly-by-night cheapy courses in the web kind of thing. If they do their research, Reddit will tell them, don't waste your time. So it is expensive. How long does it run? Well, it's a home study course and they can do it at their convenience. We tell them to shoot for 25 hours per week over 2 months. But we don't shut them off. They get access to it for a year at this point as the default, which should be more time than they need if they're taking it seriously. At this point, we are granting extensions to that for free. I can't promise that will always be true. There's some people who are saying that, PLI, our little joke of PLI is that, we are a nonprofit organization, but somehow the accounting department does not understand that some days. So they're like, what do you mean we're giving this away for free? This is a valuable thing. We should be charging for it. If PLI ever charges for extensions, it'll probably be a nominal fee. But, at this point, you paid us once, we stay with you till you pass. I've got people who've been taking this course from us 10, 20 years, some of them I know their entire life story because they're always asking for extensions and always telling me, well, I had this all planned and then that happened and I had kids and somebody got sick and the dog died and changed jobs and moved and I'm like, I don't need that. You paid for the course, you haven't passed the exam, you get an extension. But that's now, and I can't always promise that. Um, uh, how long is the patent exam? The patent exam is a full day exam, 100 multiple choice questions, 50 questions in the morning, a 3-hour session, 50 questions in the afternoon, and another 3-hour session. Are there practice tests available? Yeah, kind of. There are a couple of old exams that the Patent Office has posted to the website, to their website. The trouble is they're so old now that kind of the answers are outdated, and they will teach people the wrong stuff. If you go to their official answer, because those answers were true at the time that they published that exam, but are no longer the case under that, especially if that major change in U.S. patent law 10 years ago. The exams they posted are all 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago. But they're still kind of a good thing to go give students a sense of here's the kinds of questions they ask, just so they kind of know what they're getting into. So I often tell people who are thinking, oh, I don't know if I want to do this, if I can do this. I say, go look at those practice questions. And if that sounds kind of fun, like it's a fun, logical game for you to play with those questions, you're going to like this. You're going to be successful. And if you don't like that, then maybe this isn't for you. Okay. I don't, everybody's signing up for the emails in the chat, which I thank you for. Oh, another thing I forgot. One more slide. Let me get rid of this. One more slide. This is Nace's slide, and Jasmine might want to pop in here. Oh no. What's going on? Now I can't make it move. Here, let's try down here. Oh, that was it. Where'd it go? That's it. Nace, this is Nace. They want to thank you. There's a session evaluation you're supposed to go do. And I will going to try to look for some more questions. And the trouble is, of course, with the chat, I kind of gummed that up with all you folks. Q&A, that was where we were supposed to go. Oh, can non-US citizens be patent agents? Another very good question from someone anonymous. I think probably just because they want to put their name in. I hope it's nothing more than that. Oh, no, two people asked the same question. This is a problematic question. This is one of the things I'm always kind of running interference on. I do get a lot of foreign students who are here as grad students and want to try to get a job as a patent person, patent agent, to help them get a job in the country. Well, the trouble is it kind of really works the reverse way. You really got to get the job first, and then you can take the exam. The patent office requires you to be a citizen, have a green card, or a work visa that allows you to do this kind of work, meaning that basically the work visa supporting documents have to say that you're doing patent preparation and prosecution. That's the magic words they're looking for. But I tell students who are concerned about this, that if they have the right foreign language fluency, and that matches up to something that's kind of hot from their country is hot in that technology, they'll have no trouble finding a law firm that will want them, and I can help them find the specific law firms that are going to be interested in them, who understand the unique value proposition they are. What you have to understand is that everybody across the world wants patents in the United States. More than half of the US patents start first overseas as patents in other countries, or their inventions in other countries. And, they're going to get a patent in their home country while they're getting a patent in the United States. There's an expedited process for this to get kind of global patents. It's expensive, but they try to make it easy for the people who want to spend the money to get a global patent. You can get a global patent. Mostly, smart clients looking to get a patent are going to say, well, here's where this technology will sell. I want a patent in those countries. I don't necessarily need a patent in every single country in the world. So if you've got, say a biopharma background and you can speak or read Hindi, if you can speak or read Japanese or Korean, and you've got a background in electrical engineering, China, we get a lot of students from China. China so far, I mean, they're really trying to make AI happen. And so maybe if China ends up making AI really happen, they're going to be looking for electrical engineers and people like that. At this point, it's mostly mechanical stuff. So if you've got a mechanical engineering degree or a physics degree, and you can read Mandarin, that's going to be incredibly valuable to a law firm, because then, part of what the agents are doing is kind of reviewing the documentation that these researchers, the inventors have kind of put together. And if you can read those documents in their native language, and if you don't understand, if you can call the inventors and speak to them in their native language about, well, you said this, but what does that mean? Does it work this way or does it work that way? And here's the patent I found that sounds similar to this. And so we can't, write a patent that covers that. That's already been patented. So we have to figure out, how can you explain to me the concepts so that I can find the words in English to explain specifically what you have discovered that no one else has ever discovered before. No one else has at least patented before. Okay, so I think I'll go back to the chat and see if there's more there. But I think I just have to find some way to save the chat. That's not where I thought it would be. Let's see if there's any else. You've got more questions, don't hesitate to add them to the chat, I would say, at this point. The recording link, again, we'd have to go to Jasmine for that. I don't know what Dalp does with these afterwards. The slides, I believe the slides will be available afterwards. I think I have answered all the questions. Any more? Time to holler. If not, I will just thank you for your kind attention, and I will look forward to meeting some of you when I am out on the road. I love talking to the engineers, and I think I can be really uniquely helpful to them. And sometimes I am uniquely helpful by basically telling them this isn't for you. And I will talk a little bit about going on to law school. If students want to talk about that, again, I do not push it, but I will talk about it. And the good thing is that I really know how that works very specifically. I know every law school in the country. I know what their program is like, who the professors are, what their reputation is, what the campus is like, a good place to go grab lunch. So at least every university that has a law school, I kind of know like the back of my hand at this point. But, would love to come visit some of you. If you don't have law schools, if you are between two law schools, this Florida trip is 2 weeks of driving from, Miami to Tallahassee, stopping at every law school and a couple engineering schools along the way. So, the good thing is that I am maybe driving right past you, and would look forward to the opportunity to come talk to your students. Anything else? Looks like people are dropping off now, so. Yeah, okay. Just clean up here, Jasmine, I guess. Is there anything else you wanted to say for NACE?
Sure. Well, I'll just want to thank you all for attending today's session. And you will see in the chat there were a couple of links dropped. One for a session evaluation for today. There's also some information in there about the NACE Awards. And then for those who were wondering, this recording as well as the presentation slides will be available in your MyNACE account probably in the next 2 days or so. So thank you everyone for attending and have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks everybody. It was a pleasure.